Welcome to day 59 of 60 Days of Inspiration with Kathleen Gonzalez. And we've been studying Living the Sacred Yes, Affirmations for Action by the Reverend Deborah L. Johnson. We're on day 59, and so we have 2 days left, the second to the last day, and there's only 58 chapters in this book. So, on day 59, I thought I would teach you what I call the 5-minute instant transformation. And if you'll come back tomorrow, I'll explain a little bit more about how it works. But today I'm just going to teach it to you. And the first idea that we need to have about instant transformation is that we have stress on a scale of 1 to 10. So let's say we have a scale of 1 to 10 of stresses, right? And we're going to take one of these stresses somewhere in the scale and transform it. So my suggestion is that we work with something in the 4 to 5 range. So 1 to 3, these are the kinds of things that we can kind of change our mind about, or as Tony Robbins says, change our state. So we could like go for a walk, or drink some water, or call a friend, something like that just kind of gets us out of the energy of the stress and gets us in a good place. From 4 to 7, it's really good to have a tool to use to address whatever stress is going on with you. And usually that's the kind of stress that you've told several people about. So if somebody does something that bothers you and you've told 4 people, you're in the 4 to 7 range of stress around that. And the 8 to 10 range of stress, I would not suggest trying working on by yourself. Those are the kinds of stresses that it's best to work with a practitioner or a coach, a healer, to use some specific tools to work through those kinds of stresses. So we're going to work on a stress that's something, somewhere around 4 to 7. So I want you to, and you can write this down if you want. It's pretty simple. So the very first thing you want to do is think of something that bugs you, and you've told 3 or 4 people about it. And I want you to take that thing, whatever it is, and think about that and feel it in your body. Like when you think about that particular thing. And often it is helpful to think of a specific moment. If this was something that happened, like when in that particular series of events, the moment that it started to bother you. So the moment if somebody walked through the door, or somebody said something, or you noticed something, or you got an email or phone call, whatever it was, and the response to you or the interaction with you upset you, I want you to think of that moment. And when you think of that moment, I want you to close your eyes and go inside your body and see where that feeling lives. Like, for example, if somebody just responded to you on the phone in a way that upset you, I have an example where, and I've told 3 or 4 people about it too. There was a forest fire in our city in Tucson, and it's still going. It's about 50% contained, but at one point it was very, very close to a housing area with homes in it. And a friend of mine lived there in a independent living community of people. Most of the people were in their 80s and 90s. And so she said they had called the night before and told everybody to pack everything up and be ready to leave if it got worse. And so the fire had really raged during the day. And so that evening we called and said, well, what have they told you? And she said, well, we haven't heard anything. So I called the office, and the woman said, we have no plans. Well, first she said it took us 6 hours to contact everybody in the in the community. There's, I don't know, 200 people, something like that. She said because they're all older and they all have hearing aids and they turn them off and go to bed, and so we had to pound on their doors. So it took us 6 hours just to get everybody alerted, which was a little bit problematic when you think there's a fire marching down the mountain, and if it's going to take them 6 hours to get everybody out of there, that's a long time. And so I asked her what was the plan for tonight if something had happened with the fire, and she just said, and I think it was an unfortunate choice of words, we have no plans to do anything tonight. And that really upset me. I thought they should have a plan. I said, I would feel better if you told me we have a plan, that we're not planning on implementing it. Plan of where we're going to take folks, where they're going to stay, how to get them out of their places. We have extra staff to come so it doesn't take us 6 hours to notify everybody. We have extra drivers coming in with our buses so we can, for the folks who don't have their own cars, and we have people to help these older people get their possessions or their animals into their cars so they can leave. That would have made me feel better. But it did not make me feel better if she said, when she said, we have no plans. It's like, what? No plans? So that bugged me. So if I would take that example and think of the exact time when she said, we have no plan, and how that struck me and where in my body I felt that. So I want you to think of your example. Think of the moment where whatever happened really struck you, and go into your body. And for my example, it's kind of in my throat. It's kind of in my throat right here. It's kind of buzzy in my throat. And kind of feel it and describe it. Okay? So for me, it's kind of a buzzy feeling in my throat. It's probably about the size of, I'd say it's like a fuzzy golf ball size. And it's, what color is it? It's like gray, like a fuzzy gray golf ball in my throat. And just write that down. And it's really important to remember this feeling, because this is like our old normal. This is a feeling we walk around with. I'm upset. I have this feeling in my throat. And it's like a gray fuzzy golf ball. And that's where my body is holding these feelings. And what is the feeling? The feeling I have is, it's kind of pretty much anger. I'm angry that there isn't better care or better training for this person to communicate with people who are concerned about the folks who live in that housing. So my anger, and let me just see what, on a scale of 1 to 10, I would say it's a 6. Okay? And then, so now we have a moment that happened. We have, it's on a scale between 4 and 6, which is a good scale to practice this at. I've written down the feeling and I've memorized that feeling, and I realize it's my old normal. Okay? Now the next step is to think of something that you would rather have happen. What would you have rather had? So, I have this whole list of things that I wanted her to have in order. And so if I sit and imagine that she had just said, oh yes, we have this, we have a plan in place from our experience last night. What we've learned is we need more people. So we have extra staff on call waiting to come over if they're needed. And they're going to come, and we figured out how to get a hold of everybody and have them out of here in an hour. Okay? The folks who don't have cars, we have extra bus drivers and extra buses coming to pick them up. And we've made arrangements with the local hotel to put everybody up uh, in case they don't have someplace else to go in the city. And we have a system set up to track everybody here so that if they have someplace else to go, we know where they are. And we have extra people to come help people make sure they get their animals out safely and that their animals have someplace to go. And somebody to direct traffic, getting all of these people in and out of the facility. Okay, so we have all this stuff in place. It's just going to take a couple phone calls to mobilize, and we're ready to go within a few minutes of hearing from the fire department. And how does that feel to me? How that feels is it's kind of a lightness, and it's up in the top of my head, and maybe even a little like in the back of my throat. So kind of top of my head, back of my throat, kind of a little like a lightness, and like I want to smile. And the color is kind of seafoam green, I would say, of this kind of thing. This kind of lightness in the back of my throat and kind of in my head. And so I'm calling that the new normal. And what I can do with that is I can practice that. I can practice, and what is the feeling? The feeling is of kind of satisfaction, and there's no worry to it, but, just kind of a satisfaction and almost relief that somebody's really thought well about these folks and the plans are made. So, so the stress level, I would say, is maybe a 2. So it's something that's just hardly even there. But mostly it's a feeling of relief and satisfaction that things are taken care of. And so I'm going to call this my new normal. And I'm going to practice this. I'm going to practice sitting with that feeling and that color and just feeling how my body feels, with that. You'll notice I took a deep breath, and that's always a good sign. That's a sign that good positive neurochemicals are getting released into my body so it can relax. And I can just, so when I look outside the window and I see the fire, and I can just close my eyes and think about, what I wish would have happened. And what it does is it keeps me in a state of relaxation so that I'm actually able to respond in the present and not get hung up on what didn't happen. Because what we focus on expands. And so I can take a step or actions that are going to be much more productive from a space of calm, relaxed beingness than I would take from a panic place of these people don't have their act together and everybody's going to die, right? So anytime you have it's just a great tool to use. So the steps are find something that's bothered you and find that kind of precise moment when something happened that was just kind of really set off a stress response, and kind of name the level of response and the feeling, and then go in your body and see what it feels like, and see if you can find the feeling, where it is, size, shape, color, texture, and sit with it for a second so that the importance of that is when we go back and we repeat these stories over and over, that same feeling is going to be there, right? And so if we recognize it and we can name it, often we can change it. And so then we can go into what we want instead. And then we can engage our creativity, we can engage our problem-solving abilities, we're out of stress, and we can memorize what it feels like to have kind of a good, joyous response in this situation, or a relief even. And when you want to name that feeling, you want to kind of find out where it is in your body, what color it is, what size and shape, and practice it. It's kind of like a photograph in your back pocket. Keep looking at it, keep looking at it, keep looking at it, because from that space, you'll be able to respond, release the stress, and respond in a positive way. Whew, that took a while, a little longer than I expected. But I hope this is helpful. And like I said, if you have a stress response from 7 to 10, this may not be the exercise for you. You really want to find some help with that. But anything in the 4 to 7 range, go for it. And let me know how it goes. Thank you. And we'll see you tomorrow.